Hello and welcome back. In this video, we'll be looking at dividing polynomials, that is, looking at algebraic division. Alright, so as I said at the beginning of the lecture, uh, the long division method will be used in this lecture. But before we get there, let's just understand what polynomials are. Polynomials are terms where you have just one variable, such as x squared, raised to some power, and it can have a coefficient as well. So this is an example of a polynomial. 3x to the power of 5 plus 2x squared plus 1. Notice the powers of x to the power of 3 and x power of 1 are missing. That is fine. This is still a valid polynomial. What's not a polynomial is when you have two variables like x and y in this equation, and if you have powers of x that are not integers and they're not positive. So x to the power of a half is not counted. It doesn't count as a polynomial, and x to the power of minus 1 doesn't count as a polynomial. So this algebraic division, don't apply them if you have an expression that's got negative powers or non-integer powers. It can only work for expressions like so, where you have a polynomial. Then, alright, so we are going to just test you with dividing 819 by 7. You write the 7 on the left and 819 on the right. You take the first digit. You ask yourself, can I divide 8 by 7? Yes, it does work. If it was smaller than 7, you would take two integers and you would read it as 81, but there is no need for that. You're just going to say, I can take 1 times 7 and subtract it from 8. I will have a remainder of 1. Then I'll consider bring the 1 down here, and then I'm dividing 11 by 7, so I still have only 1 7 there. Alright, multiply 1 by 7. Notice I'm multiplying and writing the answer here, and then I'm going to subtract this from the top number. 11 minus 7 is a 4. Then I'm going to bring the 9 down, and I check here. This 4, the remainder is less than 7, so my algebraic division was correct. I'm just talking before I brought the 9 down. This was my remainder, right? So remainder has to be smaller than the divisor. This is called the divisor. Alright, so if it's not less than the divisor, you made an error. You can increase the number on the top further. But 49 now divides by 7, and we put a 7 here. 7 times 7 is 49, and I subtract, and I get a remainder of 0, which is fine. So my answer was 117. Answer appears here. Answer and remainder here. Alright, so let's have a look at another example. Alright, so now it's time to actually perform an algebraic division. Now this x minus 3 is a factor. If it's not a factor, you will have a non-zero remainder. If either way, in these kind of questions, you perform the same division, alright, in the same method. If they told you this polynomial has a root of 3, where x equals to 3, you remember when we looked at polynomial like quadratics, you would put this, you say a factor means that it has to equal to give us a 0. So I'm going to write x minus 3 equal to 0 and then put brackets around it. So that's just, if we, yeah. So let's write it in the Bossestov method and try to have a go at it. So you put, because we're dividing by x minus 3, you put that on the left, and you put that polynomial expression on the right. Now you ask yourself this. You don't have to worry about the minus 3 here. You're just asking yourself, there's a power of 1 here, there's a power of 3, there is no coefficient here, there's 1, 1. What do I need to multiply x by? X times what value will give me x cubed? Because I have x cubed here. Obviously, this has to be an x squared. So I write x squared here, and I multiply it out by each term. X squared by x to the power 1 is x cubed, but I do have to perform full multiplication. So I do have to multiply the minus 3 by x squared as well. So I write minus 3 x squared here, and therefore now the tricky part is to be careful and put a bracket around it when you put the minus sign here. Because when I'm subtracting, actually the x cube and x cube cancel away. I get a 0. But this minus and a minus make a plus. So I'm really have to add 3x squared to 2x squared. So the remainder here is a positive x power of 2. Be careful with that. Alright? Because we're subtracting a negative uh, 3x squared. Then I'll now, okay, that's the remainder, and I'm going to bring the 17x down next to it, minus 17x. Because I have two terms here, I need to have two terms here. So I ask myself, 5, I have 5x squared, right? So I have 5x squared, and over here I have x power of 1. So x power of 1 times what will give me 5x squared? I need to have a 5 and an x. So here I need to times it by 5 and 5x. So I write positive 5x here, and I multiply these 5x by these two terms again. So 5x times x is 5x squared as I need it to be, so that they cancel away. The first term has to cancel away. So the second term doesn't have to necessarily. 5x times minus 3 is a minus 15x. Once again, I'm going to put a bracket around it when I'm subtracting, because I know the first 5x and the 5x cancel away, but this minus and a minus make a plus. So I'm adding 15 to minus 17, so I get 2x there. Alright, so this minus 2x, I'm going to have to bring this 6 down next to it, so I write plus 6 here. Now I ask myself, I have x power of 1 here. So x to the power of 1 times what value will give me a negative 2x. Now I don't need to worry about the minus 6, just the matching up the first terms is important. So here my question mark will have to be a minus 2. Minus 2 times x will give me minus 2x. So I'm just gonna write minus 2 here and multiply that, see what happens. I will get minus 2x, and minus 2 times minus 3, bam, gives me plus 6, which is exactly what I want. So when I put a bracket around it and subtract, both terms cancel away. Remainder is 0, therefore my answer is up here. Now let me tidy things up. Yeah, I was just putting arrows there so you know what you need to multiply two terms. Okay, so this working out. I'm gonna leave it there. So the final answer, you can say I can rewrite this polynomial as x power x minus 3 multiplied by x squared plus 5x minus 2. Now, this quadratic may be factorizable, may not be factorizable. You can check it with the discriminant if you wish, but we haven't been asked to factorize it further. We were just asked to divide. I'm just showing you how to perform algebraic division with this example. So let's look at another example where the question may be a little longer. Okay, so in this next example, we've been asked to write, given that f of x is as such, write it in this form. So they're not explicitly asking us to perform algebraic division, but they've told us that one of the factors of f of x is 2x plus 1, and they've left coefficients for us to work out. So that means that the easiest way to do this is to perform algebraic division. Now, we haven't learned anything about factor theorems and as such, so we're not applying the factor theorem here. So just make a note that the question didn't ask us about factor theorem, so we're just deciding to use algebraic division. So that means just to put those brackets there, and notice that here one very important fact is that we did write 0 x power of x cube. There was no x cube here, but we decided to write it there. Why? And there was no x here. We decided to write 0x here. Why? Because we just need a space holder there. We need to have a gap between the this x power of 4 and x squared. We need to put something there so that because of this multiplication here, it's going to give us an extra look here. When you multiply 1 by x cubed, you're going to get some x cubed term, and if you didn't leave a gap there, things would get messy and ugly. So make sure you do put a gap there, okay? So rather a space holder like 0x cubed. If you have powers of x missing, please do that. Otherwise, you're gonna have problems in writing nice and neat. And if it's not nice and neat, things get messy and ugly, and you will make errors. So there you go. We ask ourselves, what's the question we asking ourselves? We ask ourselves, 2x times what will give me 4x power of 4. You don't have to worry about the next term or the term after. So just this gap here, what is it going to be? It has to be 2x power 3, right? Because 2 times 2 will give us a 4, and x power of 1 times x cubed will give you x power of 4. So you're going to put 2x cubed on the top, and you're going to use a bracket here and subtract. Now, 0 minus 2x cubed, 0 cubed minus 2x cubed will give you this, negative 2x. Then you don't actually need to write all the other terms down here. You just need to bring one term down at a time. So don't worry about these terms. We just putting them, but we're not going to use them. So then you ask yourself, I have 2x, and 2x times what will give me negative 2x cubed. This 2x here is this one here, all right? And I'm looking for what. Let me change my pen color because the writings that's there already is red. So we will need to get this. Uh, we want to cancel that away. So we say I need to have a minus. The 2 is already there. So I just need to multiply by negative x squared. 2x times negative x squared will give me negative 2x cubed. So I'm going to put negative x squared on the top there and multiply it out, and I get these two terms. Negative x squared times 1 is negative x squared. So put a bracket around it, and when you subtract, you will see that you actually need to add a x squared to negative 17x squared, and this is what you get. Now you bring 0x down here. You don't need to bring a 4 down. You could have just left it up there. We would have grabbed it from the top. But here, that x was already there. I would have drawn a long arrow and brought that down one step at a time. You can leave the 4 on the top, save it for later. So now we're asking ourselves, this 2x, this is what we're dividing by. So 2x times what will give me this negative 16x squared. I want to cancel that away. So I need to multiply 2x by something. 8x needs to be have a minus in front of it. So that minus 8x I'm gonna put next to on the top here. Top here. So there are I'm gonna put the negative 8x, and then we are going to multiply it by each of these terms and write it on there. We'll get this, put a bracket around it so you don't make sign errors when you subtracting. Yes, these minus 16x squares cancel, but you do add a positive 8 to 0x. So okay, so there you go. Finally, you're asking yourself, what's the question you're asking yourself? This 2x is the key, okay? Every question starts, you ask 2x times what will give me 8x. Alright, this is not hard to figure out. This is the 4. All you have to do is put a 4 there, and bam, 4 times these two terms. Alright, there are two terms, so you get 2 times here. It gives you exactly what you would have there, and the remainder is 0. So therefore, 2x plus 1 times those polynomials, those terms on the top, will give us the answer. So let me rub up my working out. Here we go. So we've answered the question. Values of a, b, and c have been found just like that. This is your a is 2, you can write it. Your b is a minus 1, your c is a minus 8, and your d is a 4. Finished. Alright, so in this next question, we've been asked to find the remainder when this polynomial is divided by x minus 4. So they've told us already, don't panic if your remainder is not 0, we're actually looking for a remainder. So you write it like so, and you're just looking for a number that you multiply x by to get 2x cubed. This would be 2x squared. You put it up there, you multiply it up, and you subtract. Alright, the PowerPoint is not using brackets here, but I'll put that there for my next try. Every time I just write it by hand. Alright, so this is what you're doing. You're asking yourself, x times what will give me 3x squared? It has to be, or you could say 3x squared divided by x is 3x. Okay, that's another way to think about it. 3x squared, if I divide that by x, you're going to get 3x. So that's why we write in the 3x plus 3x. Then these two we multiply, and we get that term there and this remainder. Now you're dividing minus 4x. This is another way to think about it. Minus 4x divided by x. You just get a minus 4. That's why we're going to write minus 4 at the end there and multiply up. So that's multiplying everything, and with these last two terms, you do get a remainder of a negative 6. Alright, so what do we do? How do we write the answer? You could write the answer as such. You could say 2x cubed minus 5x squared minus 16x plus 10 is equals to x minus 4 multiplied by, it's not going to fit there very well, 2x squared, that's why I'm writing it on the plus 3x minus 4, and then you write minus 6 over what you divide by. Divisible by x minus 4, so you can write the remainder like so, but the remainder is, you just say remainder is minus 6, but the algebra, if they ask you sometimes in year 13, you will have to write it nice and like long way like so. Okay, so happy practicing. I'll see you in the next video.